Breaking news we're tracking on NDTV this morning. A carefully worded but firm response from India's Ministry of External Affairs after political tremors were triggered by US President Donald Trump's remarks suggesting Prime Minister Narendra Modi had agreed to stop buying Russian oil under pressure from Washington. Now, the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal has clarified India's stand, saying clearly India's energy policy is dictated by national interest and guided by the twin goals of securing supply and also stabilizing prices for Indian consumers, especially in a volatile global energy market. That's the latest coming in from the Ministry of External Affairs at the moment. My colleague Mohammad Ghazali has sent us these details. Ghazali joins us over the phone line with further clarity currently. Ghazali, take us through the detailed response coming in from the MEA, and how does the MEA response balance diplomacy with assertion? Is this being seen as an indirect rebuttal to Trump's claims? We seem to have lost that line with my colleague Mohammad Ghazali, who's been tracking the latest on the front of the MEA. But a carefully worded yet firm response coming in from the Ministry of External Affairs after political tremors were triggered by Donald Trump's remarks. Now, the US President had suggested Prime Minister Modi had agreed to stop buying Russian oil under pressure from Washington, but the MEA has now clarified India's stand, categorically stating that India's energy policy is dictated by the national interest and guided by the twin goals of securing supply and essentially stabilizing prices for Indian consumers, especially in a volatile global energy market. Aditya Raj Kaul is now with us for further clarity. Aditya, take us through the latest details coming in from the MEA and its firm response. And how is the MEA response balancing diplomacy with assertion? Many say that this is an indirect rebuttal to Trump's latest claims.
Well, yes, clearly a big statement coming in from Ministry of External Affairs right now. We're breaking this first on NDTV immediately after Donald Trump's response. Donald Trump had suggested this morning that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had assured him that at this moment India would immediately stop buying Russian oil. That clearly is not going to happen. Donald Trump really, going a little ahead without any statement from India at this stage. And now the MEA clarifying that its national position is very much clear. Its interest of the people will be paramount. Our import policies are guided entirely by this particular objective. India saying that India is a significant importer of oil and gas. It has been a consistent priority to safeguard the interests of the Indian consumer in a volatile energy scenario. And in fact, ensuring the stable energy prices and secured supplies have been the twin goals of our energy policy. This includes broad-basing our energy sourcing and diversifying as an appropriate to meet market conditions. So clearly, a major statement coming in from New Delhi, from the Ministry of External Affairs, clearly indicating where the US is concerned, we have for many years sought to expand our energy procurement, and this has steadily progressed in the last decade. The current administration has shown interest in deepening energy cooperation with India, and discussions are ongoing. So no firm stance really on stopping to buy Russian oil. The national interest will continue even as the war has continued between Russia and Ukraine. India's national interest will be paramount. India actually saying that its strategic autonomy completely remains.
What does this mean for India's strategic autonomy in energy sourcing going forward? You are saying that there are no signals that India could reduce its Russian imports under geopolitical pressure?
Well, Trump had said that the Russian oil purchase will completely stop. That is a wrong assertion to make at this particular stage. He said that it will be a slow process. It cannot happen immediately. But as the statement suggests, there could be diversification of the portfolio, really. There could be other players, there could be other countries where from we can purchase oil. But completely ending purchase from Russia is not a possibility at this particular stage. As trade negotiations also continue with the United States, will trade deal really happen, or will there be some more bargains that will take place in the next few weeks? Will be amply clear perhaps in the next few days. We are looking towards the deadline of November at this particular stage. But certainly the question really is that will New Delhi stop buying Russian oil? That clearly is not going to happen at this stage. We are going to use our strategic autonomy in our own way, just like we have over the last 3.5 years as the war has raged between Ukraine and Russia. And there could be some assurances that could have gone to Donald Trump. He has made that announcement. But clearly at this particular stage, MEA is saying that national priority of India will remain, and there could be a possibility of diversification.
Aditya, also then, what message is India actually sending as far as diversification and continued business deals with Russia is concerned, especially as far as energy sourcing is, the focus being energy sourcing, especially in forums like, let's say, the BRICS or G20? How is this likely to be perceived?
Well, from the beginning of the conflict in Ukraine, India had maintained that it believes in dialogue and diplomacy. India had also maintained that it believes in its strategic autonomy and will not listen to all the lectures that have been coming in from the European Union or the Western countries or even the United States for that matter. So at this particular stage, India is very clear, just like India had stated from the very beginning, that the strategic autonomy will continue, and that means that our national priority goals will remain, be it on purchase of Russian oil, be it on trade with Russia or any other country for that matter. They will not go by some alliance or some axis. India will also not join one axis against the other. That means that India will not join Russia against Ukraine and will not join Ukraine against Russia. And that's the policy we have maintained in the Israel-Hamas conflict as well. So at this particular stage, a very important statement coming in from the Ministry of External Affairs immediately after Trump's public statement on Modi praising Prime Minister Narendra Modi and saying that he's a great leader and he has been in power for a very long time. But we'll have to wait and watch how the diversification really takes place. But strategic autonomy really remains the top priority. National interest remains the top priority. And even though there could be a diversification, that does not mean that the trade or the relations with Russia will suffer. Moscow and New Delhi are historic partners, and that will remain so, even though diktats continue from the European Union and the US.
Also, Aditya, finally, does this entire situation hurt India's global positioning as a neutral power in a multipolar world?
Well, not at all. India perhaps is one of the only countries in the world that has maintained a very balanced and a neutral stand in the times of global crisis and a deeply divided world. India has maintained that it does not believe in war. Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaking at the G20 in 2022 in Indonesia had said that this is not an era of war. We had a very historic consensus at the G20 that happened in New Delhi at the Bharat Mandapam on the Russia-Ukraine crisis. And then Prime Minister Modi was one of the only leaders across the globe who had a personal rapport and who went to Kyiv and Moscow both, met Putin as well as Zelensky, and maintained that solutions cannot be found in the battlefield. Solutions can only be found through dialogue and discussions, and diplomacy will have to finally find some kind of a solution. That's why we saw the Alaska summit happen. Even though there is not a long-lasting solution that has been arrived at, there could be a possibility of New Delhi playing an increasingly important role because of India's closeness to Russia as well as Ukraine. In fact, the Russian President Putin will be visiting India in a few weeks from now in December, and that would be a big bilateral that the entire globe would be closely monitoring. Zelensky on several occasions has appealed to India as well on this. So India has a very significant, important role, not just as the largest democracy, but also a country that enjoys very good relations both with Russia and Ukraine. So the global standing of India, India's foreign policy power, continues to remain very significant and important at this stage, even as the Ministry of External Affairs has made it amply clear that India's national interest remains when it comes to purchasing or sourcing oil from different countries.